Your little pussy belongs to me. You're gonna learn to do what I fucking tell you to.
Time for another episode of Childhood Stories. Teachers. I have a couple interesting stories about the teachers, because usually when you think about school incidents, you think about like the weird couple who gets caught trying to hook up inside of like a janitor closet or something. But most of mine were, you could say, solo ventures. Not me specifically. I mean, at my school, we had a math teacher in my middle school. His name was, we'll call him Tony, and he looks like Tom Kenny, with like a bunch of wrinkles and like a wireframe glasses. Something about him. And he was like real lanky too. I had a friend of mine one time come up to me and started telling me about how there's this one math teacher who it just rubs him the wrong way. There's something about him he doesn't like. Everyone was sitting silently trying to do like the assignment they were working in, and over the speakers of this teacher's laptop that were like connected to the whole room, he heard straight up fucking porn music playing, and like a split-second fraction of like a moan of like a girl saying Tony, saying the teacher's name, saying the teacher's full name in like a breathy moan. And everyone thought he was full of shit, but it was starting to pass around. Some people were swearing by it, and everyone felt just like there was something off about that teacher. Like he would be like a chaperone on like a school trip, and he would like be talking about like his female colleagues, like not like in like a straight up like harassing way, but like in a like negative charisma type way, where he'd be like making a joke, is like, oh, this is my wife, and no one would be into it, and no one would like it, and they'd be like, dude, stop. And eventually it came out, big reveal, bombshell. Yes, that guy was a fucking gooning in class. That guy. Man. That's the little one. The big event in my middle school was the science teacher. I had a science teacher, right? This guy, he looked like fucking Vector from Despicable Me if he gained like 100 pounds. And he had the classic teacher fit of like the tucked in polo shirt into like the khakis with the belt and all that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He looked exactly like that, but no glasses. So just like he had this fucking fucked up face, Vector face with the double chin, like a green tucked in polo shirt, and he was going around teaching like 6th grade science. I have a bunch of funny little stories about this guy. Like when I went to go sign up for like my 7th grade orientation, whatever, he was sitting at a table and he struck up a conversation with me. I was like a 7th grader and he was a grown man, and he kind of sort of knew me because I was in his class last year. But he was like, dude, did you play the new Fallout 4? Yeah, I totally took off work to play the game. I'm fucking like 13, dude. What are you talking about? When I had his class, I don't know. I guess I sort of like have like fond memories of the guy, because he was kind of like, because I remember one time like I straight up passed out in his class. For some reason I didn't sleep like the night before, and like straight up like passed out in his class, where like I was sitting down trying to look at my assignment, and the next thing I knew, I fucking like had slammed my face onto the desk in front of everyone, like straight lost consciousness. And when I came to, everyone was staring at me, and he was like lurching over me. He was like, hey, are you alright, buddy? You just passed out and slammed your face on the desk. Are you alright? And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't sleep. Maybe that's why he thought I was a real gamer. I was like, what? He thought I was like not sleeping to play video games? I don't know. But the thing that came out, I learned this way fucking later in high school. What came out was that he was straight up fucking molesting students. straight up like feeling up his students who, when I was in his class, was 6th grade. Okay, 6th grade. I never got any specifics. I don't know what he did, or how he did it, or how it went down, or how he got busted. Thinking back to my middle school was so fucking stupid. I remember so many things. Like, I think this is one thing I remember specifically was, I guess, moving on to more students. One of the things I heard about was the first time somebody lost their V card. And it wasn't like I was snooping or anything, or someone was passing it around. It was something like everybody in the fucking school was hearing about it. Word was spreading, right? I was sitting at my lunch table. I sat at the peanut-free lunch table because I had a friend who had peanut allergies, and there's only one of those tables, and I was there. That was the table all the rejects sat at, right? Maybe, not really. I was sitting there, and some kid sat down, being, "Dude, did you hear? Joe, he lost his V card." And I'm like, man, I'm just trying to eat my food. And he was telling me the story where, like, apparently this kid, Joe, and his girlfriend, the story goes that, you know, these two were dating and they were hanging out, and then just, like, they got up and, like, they just started cupping each other's balls, and then the rest is history. And I'm sitting there at my lunch table listening to someone describe this to me, and I'm just like, man, I really didn't need to hear about this. That's like stuff I didn't need to hear about and wasn't really interesting to me. But there were other things that straight up like chilled me to my bones.
Proud as hell for CP. I'm here for CP. He came to my first finals appearance, and it's me giving it back to him, man.
There was this one kid, he was like a giant. He had, I don't know if he had like gigantism or something, but he was like always the biggest in this class, in our class, right? And I heard a rumor like he got suspended for like weeks, and I heard a rumor about why it happened, that apparently he recorded his bro getting some in the backseat of a car. And we're still in middle school at this point, right? So he's like spreading this on Snapchat or something. That's like straight up like spreading fucking
CP, I'm here for CP.
That's why I doubt the validity of the story, because it's such a fucking ridiculous claim. But if it's true, it's the most insane fucking thing in the world. Like it must have been like everyone heard about it. Like the girl had to move to a different school system. The guy had to get suspended too. And the biggest, right? This is the biggest one that personally affected me at the time in middle school. All the lockers were arranged alphabetically. So there was a kid, his name was like Jason or something. And since he had like the same letter last name as me, he was like right next to me. And he was like a bad delinquent kid, whatever, like fucking drinking in middle school, you know, typical crash out stuff. But one year he disappeared. Like he was my locker neighbor, so like I noticed like he stopped coming in, and I was like, fuck it, I guess he's gone. What's that? Whatever. Like a year later, I heard the story. The reason why he was gone was because he was in like juvie because he fucking like raped his sister. And that was immediately just like fucking straight up like ice in my veins. Like, dude, what the fuck? How do you even do that? How do you fuck up that badly, that severely, that quickly? How do you even it's such like inhumane thing. Mind you, this is all just middle school. Oh, fuck. I'm like halfway through these, I'm already like lightheaded reminiscing about that. Oh, fuck. Getting back to the high school, right? Starting off with some, you know, small ones, you know. I think I've talked about this before. My grade started a fight club in the bathroom one day, and they got busted for it. just a bunch of fucking dumbass kids fighting in the guy's bathroom. They got busted for it, and it haunted me. It followed me like a ghost for the rest of my time at school, because anytime I tell people that I was in that class, people always had this idea that my class was like the dumb class. They were the ones that they were the crash out, the crash out generation, right? And so I think that followed me, because everyone thought I was like a mild-mannered and cool little guy. And so whenever I told people that I was from the same class as all those guys, they looked at me like I like killed somebody in front of them. Like they thought I was someone different. There was a teacher, math teacher. I never had his class. He was a teacher in the freshman center, so I saw him there. The only experience I ever had with him was I went to the restroom during class, and I saw my friend was there, so I did a casual freshman greeting. I hit him up with a, "Hey, what's up? Hey, I'm gonna..." Editor's note, bleep all that for comedic effect. And when I said all that, he looked at me like he saw a ghost, and then I realized why. I like turned in the periphery of my eye, and the guy standing there, full teacher, and he immediately pulled out his little notepad and was like, "What's your name, young man?" And I was like, "Oh," but nothing came out of that. And I think the reason why was because a big news came out, big scandal. Apparently, this fucking guy married a student of his. I think it was like people found out that a former student of his, after they had graduated and become 18, they got hitched, which, he waited until she was 18. He was a teacher in the freshman center, so the guy, I don't know, maybe he was waiting 4 years. It's a big no-no. You're not supposed to do that. Even if you wait until they're gone out of the school system, you're not supposed to do that. And so the guy, he had to leave, dishonorable discharge, whatever. He was a disgraced teacher, so I don't know, he probably had to go move to a different school system. And who knows, maybe he's probably fine to this day. But so to this day, I remember that guy as the teacher who I managed to avoid getting in trouble because he got into heat of his own. You're gonna write me up for saying something evil to my friend? Fuck you, you're a pedophile. This is the big one here. All those are like, you laugh about those, right? Those are things where you look at and you straight up think to yourself, like, damn. You can like sweep those under the rug and be like, all right, well, I guess we're just moving on. I guess everyone's gonna act like that didn't happen. But this is one that lived in infamy for like the rest of my days that I've like lived. On the first day of either sophomore or junior year, I was walking down the hall, with a big hall where everyone commuted in the same, traffic, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a real tall kid with long hair, like a bowl cut that like extends past his ears to his shoulders, right? And he wore a yarmulke on his hat, which by itself, I didn't think, there's not, nothing to worry about, of course. But there's something about it where I thought to myself, where it's like, there's something to this kid, isn't there? And I remember telling my friends this, and they were like, "What, a kid wearing a yarmulke and you think he's up to something? What's wrong with you?" And I swear it wasn't that. I swear there was something to it, where I looked at him, and just from head to toe, everything about him, the way he carried himself, the way that he, his hair looked, the way he dressed, I looked at him and I said, there's something to this guy. He was just one face in a crowd, but he stood out so much, just the energy he gave off. And I never forgot him. Because years later, I heard the news that a kid got busted. A kid got busted for having a kill and rape list. A list of all the people he wanted to kill, and a list of all the fucking girls he wanted to rape. Big fucking news. Everyone heard about it. Immediately. Fucking spreads like wildfire. Everyone's talking about it. Did you hear this fucking guy And as soon as I picked up on it, I was like, him, the fucking Yamaka kid. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't fucking believe it. I never been so vindicated in my life before. Being like, I knew that there was something about him. I didn't know if he specifically had like access to firearms or something, and people were like, oh, this kid, he's a school security risk, he's gonna shoot the building, or what. But he got suspended. They say suspended, but I never saw him ever again. So he probably got expelled or had to move to a different school system, whatever. This was like the closest my school ever got to an actual threat. And to this day, I still think about it because I picked him out of a crowd and went, there's something about that guy. And I didn't know anything about him. And the more I learned about him, the more I felt vindicated. Because I just picked up on it without any prior judgment. I just looked at him and thought, this kid's up to something. When I heard about him more, things like one time I went on a date with a girl and we were reminiscing about, since we went to the same high school, we were reminiscing about the stupid shit that happened when we were there. And I brought that up. I remembered it. I was like, wasn't that so crazy? And she was like, you know that I was on the list? And she started, and I was like, she started telling me about this guy, about how, like, he sat behind her in class, and he would do shit like grab her hair and sniff it, and so she had to literally cut her hair short because he would do shit like that. Fuck, I'm lightheaded again, just remembering this and giggling to myself. I feel like I'm gonna pass out from, like, blood rushing to my head thinking about this. The one thing I learned from this girl that was so fucked up was that the reason why he got caught, it wasn't because, like, someone found it in his locker or something like that. It's because he sent out the fucking list. He sent it to everybody. Everyone who's on the list, he sent them a copy on email. What are you even trying to do? When I found that out, I was just so fucking confused of what he was even doing. Was he trying to get a rise out of people? Was he like 1 hour away from arriving at school and we somehow managed to bust him? Was he just like doing like fucking Naruto shit where he's painting on the statue to get attention? What is this kid doing? That was the one thing that I never could figure out. It's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? There are so many things, like when he was like younger, when he was like a freshman, he was like a kid, where he was like, yeah, I'm racist and evil. And then like a year later, he found out his mom was Jewish and he did like a complete 180. And it was just like, this guy, who the fuck is this guy? What is he? Who made this guy? This guy is like a test tube baby that they made in the lab. But yeah. I forgot to record an outro, but yeah, that's the end of the video. Post in the comments your stories, whatever the incident at your school was, the craziest thing that happened, and I'll pin the whichever one I think is craziest, funniest, whatever. Bye.